Hi everybody, I'm Chris Stewart, producer of Sword of the Stars Ground Pounders, our hexy new classic turn-based war game here at Kerberos Productions. Now if you're not familiar with Sword of the Stars or Ground Pounders, I'm going to get the dev team to tell you a bit more about the project here in a minute. If you're here because you followed us and supported us on our initial Kickstarter campaign for Ground Pounders, I just want to take a moment here at the start to say thank you so very much. Your support really meant a lot to us. It's also put us in a unique situation. Our first campaign brought in over 400 of you who pledged 50% of our goal and asked a lot of questions about the game. The alpha demos we released for PC and Android devices were very eagerly downloaded and we got a ton of great feedback. So while the campaign didn't reach its goal, we cannot consider it a failure. We know that there's a solid demand for this game and we already have playable builds. We don't want to walk away now. So here we are in Indiegogo, where we had a lot of success last year in getting gamers like you to help us complete our first indie project, The Pit. Based on the response we got at Kickstarter, we are going to restructure the Ground Pounders project accordingly. The game will still allow you to play single player or multiplayer across the PC and Android platforms, but we'll be adjusting the scope of the game in accordance with our smaller Indiegogo target goal. This mostly means we'll be focusing on 2 of the 3 originally planned battle campaigns. You as the Hivers and you as the Human Soul Force. We will also have to go easier on the pledge perks, but we'll still have lots of great stuff to offer our supporters, including the finished game itself. If we find ourselves in the position of exceeding our Indiegogo target goal, then our first stretch goal is obvious. We'll finish the game as originally planned. This is not going to be easy, but with your support it is absolutely doable. Now how about we tell you a bit more about the project, and be sure to follow along with our project updates here at Indiegogo.
Hi there, I'm Martin Surlis, Creative Director here at Kerberos Productions. I thought I'd take a minute or two to tell you about our new war game, Ground Pounders. In Ground Pounders, you play a divisional commander in charge of multiple battalions and companies of ground units. Your job is to take and hold territory from the enemy. In the current incarnation of Ground Pounders, you play as either a human or a hybrid commander, and you have various racial units that fit in with those armies. Gameplay consists of using units to attack and defend with, and augmenting their ability with cards which you place in a deck to be drawn at random. The combat cards in Ground Pounders are used to modify attacks or to give units special abilities or to cancel the abilities of enemy units. For instance, a card can be used to put units into supply that are otherwise cut off, or to give them increased attack ability, or even to allow them to see things they normally wouldn't see. Other cards can be used to call down artillery strikes from space. Players gain new cards from winning battles, skirmishes, and campaigns. These new cards are placed in a large collection from which the player can then choose 52 cards to build his combat deck with. As your needs and strategies evolve over time, you can build different decks to serve your purposes. Also, each race will have a series of unique cards just for them, and you can use those to build racial decks to optimize their abilities. Once you're in battle, another innovation of Ground Pounders is the use of placing dice on your own before battle actually starts. In other games, where you roll dice to see what the combat result is, Ground Pounders let you roll all your dice first and assign them to your units before combat actually starts. That way, it represents the idea that you're loading up your best units, or your most critical units, with the best equipment and optimizing their battle prowess. Of course, you can't roll 6s all the time, so somebody's going to get stuck with the 2s and 3s and 4s. This means you have to make decisions based on your strategic needs versus the value of your equipment. Different battlefields are also critical in Ground Pounders. When you fight on a planet that's like Earth, then the usual things apply, like weather, terrain, that sort of thing. On the other hand, when you're fighting on an airless moon or a planet with a caustic atmosphere, combat is suddenly much more dangerous. Half your troops can die just from a tiny wound. This sort of thing is reflected in the rules that apply to individual battles in the game. It's not all just fighting. Specialty units and ground pounders, such as engineers, can build bridges or airfields or break down other people's fortifications. Medical units can heal damage on other units, and electronic warfare units can make your own equipment harder to see by the enemy. With the game, you get 2 complete armies to play, humans and hivers. Also included is the Tarkin army to play against. This means you have over 100 air, land, and sea units to play with. Each of the 2 campaigns will run anywhere between 13 and 18 battles, and the game will also ship with a large variety of skirmish battles across a variety of planets and situations. Of course, the meat and potatoes of any war game like this is the campaign mode. In Ground Pounders, you can take a set of units which you purchase at the beginning of the campaign and upgrade them through battle after battle, until, by the end, they're your elite strike force. Units gain experience by winning combats and battles, as well as losing some experience every time they need replacements. When a unit gains an experience level, it also gains a new ability, which can come in handy in a variety of ways. Ground Pounders allows you to play in 3 basic modes. 1. Skirmish battles. 2. The Grand Campaigns. And 3. Multiplayer skirmish battles, where you can fight friends or foe across the internet and across multiple platforms. For those of you who are fans of the SOTSverse, Ground Pounders will also have a deep and involved SOTS decks, which will put all the equipment and units you see into the context of the greater SOTSverse and give you details on how worlds, planets, and armies function on the ground combat scene. At its heart, Ground Pounders is a light war game that includes a deep level of tactical and strategic decision-making. The game combines issues such as supply, combined arms, and multiple levels of support in a way that's easy to learn but hard to master. For those of you who are interested in exactly how the mechanics play out, please feel free to download either the PC or the Android demo. They're super stable and include all the basic mechanics of the game already.
Hi everyone, I'm Darren Wayne, also known as DDub on our forums, and I'm the tech lead for Ground Pounders. Ground Pounders is a great game that brings a new feel, look, and features to an old genre. It is a strategic war game that can be played on multiple platforms with no drawbacks. We've established the same experience on all platforms, which is something different than other games of this style. Instead of dumbing down a PC version to work with mobile devices, we instead have increased the experience on a mobile version to match the PC. Instead of dropping visual quality, we have created a Google Maps inspired system to enable high detailed terrain. In terms of mechanics, we've dedicated a lot of features to traditional wargaming, combined with a few modern features, and wrapped it all up in the SOTSverse to give Ground Pounders a depth and feel found in few other games of this type. This is our philosophy here at Kerberos, to ensure fans of the genre can love the game, as well as introduce new players to a genre they might not have tried before. A major area we wanted to optimize is multiplayer. In most games, we dislike how long you have to wait between turns, and that you can't do anything else to pass the time. Also, most games only allow you to play one multiplayer game at a time. What we have done is created a sophisticated system similar to play by mail, but without the hassle, that allows you to play against multiple opponents as well as enjoy a single player campaign at the same time. This way you can keep busy learning, experimenting, and advancing with Ground Pounders while you wait for your opponent to finish their turn. Now that Kerberos sets its own schedule, our primary goal as software engineers is stability. And while you can imagine that this can be challenging given our multi-platform plans, the quality of both the PC and Android demos show that we're on top of this one. We also have our system set up to have single player and multiplayer run through the same functions. This way, both single player and multiplayer have the same game flow to ensure stability for both modes. I really enjoyed your questions and feedback during the Kickstarter campaign. Feel free to send me any more. And I'm really hoping to reach our stretch goals because I'd like to see Ground Pounders on as many platforms as possible. I love the challenge. Also, if Red Bull or any of its competitors are watching, looking for endorsement, contact me on our forum, and please send me free samples to our address. Thank you, and thank you everyone for your support.
So about 10 years ago, we started a project called Sword of the Stars. My job from the beginning has been art director. With the SOTS games, the primary focus has always been form following function, so every bit of the ship designs taken into consideration, adding necessary functionality to the unit. So life support tanks, staff quarters, hallways, hull thickness, adding overall mass to the ship, realistic sizes for the reactors and thrusters. With the color palette for the textures, we went with some strong, bright colors and contrasting line work where we could, taking cues from model kits, and stylistically we drew inspiration from shows like Battlestar Galactica, Babylon 5, and the Macross universe. Epic missile strikes and dramatic space operas. But now with Ground Pounders, the action is going dirt side, so I've had to come up with a much more personal and gritty look to these much smaller units from the planet's surface. Instead of things like triple barrel cannons into 20-meter battleship turrets, I've had to review all the tech in SOTSverse and decide what realistically fits into a 3-meter tank turret. In SOTS, my aim was not to have the ships designed individually, but to be seen as part of an entire composition theme for each faction. I'm facing the same challenge in Ground Pounders. With the help of my lead artist, Brian Blanks, we've approached the Ground Pounders in the same way. We've tried to imagine a realistic but recognizable visual theme for the human, Hyber, and Tarka planetary forces.
Yeah, well, we take a lot of the technology from our previous Sword of the Stars games, and we can incorporate that into a lot of the tank designs and different designs for all the vehicles. So if it's a tank with an anti-gravity technology, we can take elements from the ships and then mix those into the tanks.
Now, I've spent the past year developing cute sprites to inhabit the pit, but it's time again to move back to the more serious elements that the SOTS universe was built upon: military combat units. One of the techniques I've liked to use is assigning a race to an individual artist on the team to produce. This helps to assure a more unique aesthetic from the factions in the game, and lets all the artists on the team give a true creative contribution to the game and the franchise. I might steer the boat for the overall creative vision, but I love encouraging all the artists on the team to bring what they can to the table and grow as an artist through the process. So after many years of adding on and refining the individual styles of the factions, we now have well-established rules and guidelines for each of them, which made the shift from space combat vessels to ground and air-based ones a clear path stylistically, with so much established art to draw inspiration from. Once again, we follow the form-following function mantra as much as possible. So it's not random pieces on that tank, that's grav generators and ammo capacitors and cooling system. And it's great fun drawing more inspiration from real-life military vehicle counterparts for this new slew of units. When it came to the interface, I wanted to get back to a more refined look that suits the tone of Ground Pounders, drawing inspiration from military medals and insignias, reflecting that this is a serious war environment. We want to give you that sense of being a commander-in-chief, making critical decisions from the backlines, issuing orders from your data pads to all your units. I really like this machined metal frame that we've come up with to give you this more regal look, imparting that idea of high command and importance. Again, it's a departure from our last title, The Pit, with exaggerated pixel borders and cute pixel art icons. The added challenge here is that we needed to create a GUI that was clean and expansive enough to be at home on the PC while still functioning on pads and smartphones. While this will keep making my life interesting throughout development, I think if you compare the PC and the Android demo, you can see that we're definitely on the right track. I've enjoyed meeting and dancing for you all on the Kickstarter campaign. I'll be popping in from time to time to talk about card design and the GP SOTS decks. So please keep the questions and feedback coming, and I'll respond to them.
Yeah, dance again.
Fine, I'll dance some more.
Hi, I'm Aaron Demo, the lead writer at Kerberos Productions. For the last 10 years, I've been writing all of the background fiction that it takes to make a science fiction universe called Sword of the Stars. So far, the background fiction I've written has served as a setting for 3 fantastic games, a full-length military science fiction novel, and over 100,000 hours of Let's Play footage on YouTube. So if you've never played a game set in the Sword of the Stars universe before, I just want to say welcome. and I want to tell you a little bit about the universe you'll be conquering in Ground Pounders. When I first joined Kerberos Productions, I had a very big job ahead of me. The team was making an epic 4X strategy title called Sword of the Stars, and what they needed from me was an epic universe, a place that was really worth battling for. There are a lot of elements that we wanted to bring to the table with the Sword of the Stars games. It's a very colorful space opera setting, and the team wanted to have really powerful alien races that were not only fun to play, but really well developed in terms of character, technology, and culture. The other goal that we had was to take a new look at all the old tropes and the cliches of science fiction gaming to see if we could do something new with them. So twist them around, turn them upside down, look at them in a new way, give people an experience that was fresh and interesting in both science fiction and gaming. But with Sword of the Stars, I've basically taken everything that I loved about space opera and military science fiction for over 30 years, and I've come back to it from a new perspective. I like to keep that fun and playful quality, having like a reptile race or an insect race, a cetacean race, but I'm also trying to achieve something with Sword of the Stars that Tolkien did with fantasy. He was a great historian and a linguist, and he brought his knowledge with him to the table when he was building a fantasy universe. I'm a social scientist, and I'm trying to bring my knowledge of biology and anthropology with me when I'm building a science fiction universe. So there are 7 playable races in the Sword of the Stars universe, and there are more technologies and big ideas than we could ever fit into a single game. The timeline of the universe covers thousands, sometimes millions of years, but as a game, Ground Pounders has a really nice, tight focus. There are 3 races in Ground Pounders. The first is the human race. Ground Pounders is set in the year 2409, when the human race is building its very first interstellar empire and participating in its very first interstellar war. The playable faction is called Sol Force. Basically, Sol Force is you and me, if we were living in the post-apocalyptic 25th century and sneaking through wormholes from star to star, stealing planets from older empires. The second playable faction in Ground Pounders is the Hivers. The Hivers, they look like bugs on the outside, but they're actually way more evolved than insects on Earth, and they're a heck of a lot more dangerous. The human race first met the Hivers on a pretty bad day, when a Hiver fleet showed up in the skies above Earth and started raining fire down on Asia. The humans managed to defeat that attack by using ICBMs. The Hivers in that fleet retreated. They eventually died in battle. But what humans didn't understand at the time is that Hivers were not a unified empire. Their whole society was in the midst of a giant civil war at the time, and the rogue fleet that attacked the Earth was just a rogue fleet. So, the humans thought they were being attacked by a species that wanted to wipe out the human race, and they went into the Hiver War believing that it was going to be an all-out kill-or-be-killed conflict. But most of the Hivers that they ran into, as they expanded throughout this portion of the galaxy, had no idea what was going on. So they spent the first 10-15 years of the Hiver War just trying to figure out what the heck was happening and how to defend themselves from these crazy monkeys from the stars. The third faction that you find in Ground Pounders are the Tarkas. They are a reptile race. They're evolved on a planet where the dinosaur era never ended, essentially. Basically, a Tarka is what happens when you have something that moves through the trees as well as a gorilla, and swims in the swamp as well as a crocodile, and is also smart enough to build a starship and an anti-grav tank. When Ground Pounders begins, the Tarka are trying to rebuild their ancient empire, which fell apart about 900 years ago. They see the Hivers in the middle of their civil war, and the humans just trying to crawl out of the cradle as weak, essentially. They're going to try and grab all the land they can, as fast as they can. So, in the stars and on the ground, they're on the Blitzkrieg. So, as always with any game set in the Sword of the Stars universe, there will be a lot of lore, story content that's behind the scenes at Ground Pounders. We'll be slipping it into the introductions and the final sequences at the beginning and end of each scenario and campaign. And of course, you'll find a lot of little nuggets of story content in your SOTS decks too. I've been working on this universe for 10 years. My goal is to make it deeper and more interesting with every year that I work on it. With your help, Ground Pounders is really going to bring this period of hard-hitting frontier war to life. So thank you, now and always, for your support.